right, hello everyone, and welcome to our second podcast for the 2019-2020 academic year. Today we're going to be talking about how to survive your freshman year in college and also some tips about tutoring with three of my tutors. So we'll first go and introduce the tutors, and if you could tell us what year you are.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I'm a sophomore.
Hello, my name is Ashley. I am a senior.
Hey, my name is Gemma, and I'm a junior.
Okay, excellent. So we've got a nice spread. We've got people from different years, and they can kind of reflect and give us some tips on how looking back on their college careers, because obviously they're successful, right? Cameron made it from being a freshman to a sophomore. Gemma made it from being a sophomore to a junior, and Ashley made it from being a junior to a senior who will hopefully graduate in December. I have no doubts you will graduate. It'll be fine. But that's kind of where we're at. So being an Asianist, I think I have to start with the oldest student, right?
Okay.
So the person who's first on. So Ashley, what kind of survival tips would you give freshmen?
Definitely, I would say for freshmen, because a lot of freshmen get discouraged about studying and everything outside of school because the fact that they feel like they have to have like a perfect study schedule, and if they somehow in a sense don't manage their time properly and everything, that discourages them from wanting to continue studying and everything. But my advice to you would be it's a gradual process. You'll get better as the years go along, better and better, as long as you're trying to incorporate new tricks and tips and ideas into your studying philosophy. Whether you figure out, oh, I study better at the library than I do in my room. The hours in the day you work best, whether you do better before lunch, after lunch, things like that. And I'm even tweaking that right now as being a senior about to graduate in December. I've even trying to change a little bit of my studying schedule and how I choose to study. So just don't overwhelm yourself in thinking you have to get it right the first time, because college is a learning process. So.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I know that's something I always have to work at. I always get sleepy in the afternoon. So it's like starts my best times morning and then late afternoon. Mid-afternoon's hard. Excellent. All right, so then going again by age hierarchy. So Gemma, what can you tell us? What survival tips would you give freshmen?
I would say, at least from my experience, to stay focused, and not just on academics, but as yourself, as a person. Because especially as a freshman, I feel like it's easy to get lost, whether it's in school with your classes or even with your friends, yourself, your roommates. Everything's new, you're away from home, and if you neglect yourself, you're gonna neglect your studies. And if you don't know yourself, you're not gonna know what's best for you, like what Ashley said, like when's the best time to study, like how do I do that. So it all like adds together. So I think being focused would be my biggest tip.
I do have to point. No, that sounds a lot like know thyself.
Oh,
Socrates, right?
I mean, yeah.
No, excellent. And can you give kind of a concrete, I mean, you kind of were going there. Can you give us a little bit more of a concrete example and explain how that helps you?
I mean, I could do a personal example.
If you're comfortable.
Okay, yeah,
right.
Sure. So my freshman year, I struggled big time. My first semester, just because everything was so new and I was so not used to it, and it was just a big struggle. So it was harder for me in my classes to succeed because I was so worried of what was going on with myself, like my roommates, like just getting adjusted, living in a different area, all that stuff. So once I was comfortable with the adjustment and I like was more comfortable with myself being there and trusted myself that I was confident I could do the whole college thing, then I feel like my grades and my study habits and all that stuff got better or improved.
Excellent.
That makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And that's one thing to think about, is how I think the broader environment affects us. Like we tend to think, we tend to compartmentalize our lives. This is me in class. This is me with my friends.
Exactly.
But those things totally interact. Though I thought you took History 121 with me your freshman year.
I did.
And I would never have known that you were having any difficulties. Like you did well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do a little better in my history
Sure,
classes,
no, that
obviously. But, I mean, you know, I struggle overall. I would say
Right.
it was a struggle. But
that makes sense. And the reason I wanted to bring that up was, if you are struggling, it can be helpful to talk to a professor, to an advisor, to anyone, in a sense that might be able to help you. Because a lot of times, even if we can't help with the situation directly, we can point you in the right direction. I'll sometimes have students say, well, I had this problem. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? I mean, obviously it sounds like yours, you handled on your own, but there's other ones. It's like, please, if you have this, like, especially with advising, sometimes people have questions, and then it's like you're in classes with with professors in your major. You're right there. They will be happy to help you. So that's very good. Well, I'm glad that you were able to overcome that, and that's an important thing. I think that everyone is going to go through at some point or another. Well, excellent. So as we go down the years, Cameron, you're no longer a freshman. You're a sophomore. No more. You don't have to wear the beanie anymore.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So, what kind of survival tips would you give to our freshmen?
So, my number one tip I would say is to use and get a planner. In my experience, my freshman year, my planner was basically my Bible. Like that, I used it every day. Even if you're really good at memorization and you remember what to do that particular day, it's still good to have it written down.
Right. Because
it's really easy just to forget to do a homework for a class that you had like 8 a.m. in the morning, or like,
right.
And use your planner, and even if to use it, and where I was going with that, but just have a planner. Definitely. Another tip I would use was a big one is go see your advisor, your freshman advisor, more than what's required, for sure. It helps you keep on track and everything. So, and it's good to have your planner to write down things, and you cross them out as you go, and it just gives you that kind of level of satisfaction. So. No,
I never just crossed out things. I like totally destroyed them when I accomplished them. It's like, yeah, I did this, and that was really helpful. I like that you said the therapeutic, because it was like, yes, I did this. Now
it feels rewarding.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I like that you're all giving very practical tips that kind of work for anyone, because I think sometimes when people struggle, it's easy to say, okay, I'm just not smart enough. College is just not for me. And it doesn't sound like none of you have said, oh, well, there's just a wall that you hit and then that's it.
No, because you got here, so that's the biggest accomplishment enough. You got to think that there's a lot of people still, even in the United States, that don't have this opportunity in a sense to get a higher education and, getting their bachelor's and then later on going to get graduates and master degrees and stuff. That's still considered a privilege somewhat nowadays age, I would believe, so.
Right, yeah, and we're not going to let people in unless we think that they can do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes one thing I think is and maybe this may be kind of a follow-up question. A lot of times when people find themselves in a situation that's not so good, or a bad situation, they're like, how did I get here? And it's not that they made one big choice that was really bad, it's that they got into habits that drove them to that situation. So, I've been in, I know, I sometimes hear students talking before class, and I've had students talk about, oh yeah, I binge watched this, or yeah, these are the 5 shows I watch. I'm like, oh my, that's a lot of time you're investing, and that's probably not the best. I mean, I don't think good memories are made of television, right? So, have fun with your friends or something rather than that. But my point being that they don't, and all those students that were not doing well, and I don't think that they made that connection, because it's like, well, I'm just watching TV. It's like, well, no, that's a bad habit you've picked up. So do you have any, you gave us, use a planner, stay focused, study. What do you think are good habits that students should cultivate, especially freshmen?
I would say would be to listen to people. Because I knew, especially when I was a freshman, I knew people, not all people, but they almost had like a movie vision of what college was, and like, since I'm on my own, like, I don't gotta listen to anybody, I can do this on myself, like, all by myself. But I think, like, listening to people and just hearing, like, their advice, whether it's your advisor, your professors, even friends, like, listen to people, because, like, they're trying to help you, usually, so.
Right. Even if we get bad advice, we're still trying to help.
Yeah. And just be open to what people have to say, because most likely what they're saying, like, could be helpful, Right.
Well, and one thing I should point out, professors, we ask each other for advice. We'll say, I'm thinking about doing this in a class. Have you ever done this? What do you think? And we'll often share syllabi and schedules and say, what do you think about this? Do you think this is something that will work well with students? And we respond to that feedback, where a professor will say, well, I tried that, didn't work so well. Or, yeah, you should try that. And of course, one thing that's important, we read our student evaluations carefully. And I change courses based on what students say at times. I mean, sometimes I can't because of just for various reasons, but I take it seriously. So even your professors, we have to listen to other people. So I like like that you mentioned that habit, right? It's not like I'm an adult, I don't have to listen. No, we're even if we're old and bald, we still have to listen. So okay, let's see, Ashley, what any habits you can think of that students should cultivate?
Well, one, I'm going to try to synthesize a lot of the stuff that I heard everybody say because y'all have a lot of good ideas. But one with the instant gratification thing, about, when you accomplish a task, like in your planner, you mark it out, you check it off because you're like, yeah, I got that. It makes you feel, in a sense, like you accomplished something, and everything, versus because when you're in college, especially, you're in this whole kind of like delayed gratification dilemma because you're like in the sense of where you're reaching for a goal that you're just keep striving, you're not there yet because you have 4 years to accomplish. So it's really hard to feel like you're accomplishing necessarily anything a lot of the times because you're just like, where's the reward? Right. So like give yourself small rewards throughout the week for accomplishing like big things. Like with me, I get happy about little things. So like, for example, I'll probably like hold off from like getting Starbucks for a whole week anyway because the lines are super long anyway. So you're gonna have a hard time getting it anyway. But I'm like, okay, if I make sure I study at least 3 times a week for this test and everything, and then I get an A on this test, then I'm gonna get me something really big and expensive at Starbucks with like my Bearcat bucks, like splurge myself and everything, or go out to eat with my friends like that Friday night or something. So just giving yourself those like kind of small rewards for yourself and everything really makes you strive for a bigger I guess goals and mindsets and everything, and really makes you go the distance and long way. And also too, I would say utilize your resources, and that's just with your professors too and everything, because you have to think like they've been in your shoes before too and everything, and they were going through their bachelor's degree as well, and even though they're part of like a different decade and generation and stuff, they still have some shared similar experiences, so they know a lot more than what you think you do. I feel like there's a big disconnect with our generation, with older generations, because we just think, oh, it's just impossible, they don't know exactly what I'm going through at all. But you got to think, they went to college, they're professors now, they have some shared, they were a college student at one point in time getting an undergraduate, so they have some of those similarities, shared experiences. So just really talk to them, even in the sense of if you feel like you could connect to them on some certain level, culturally, background wise and stuff, and just be like, hey, did you go through this in college? You'd be surprised on the answers that you get. So just utilize them, and also your clubs and your wellness centers and like resources like that and everything, because a lot of kids, and your libraries, because they have a lot of resources too and everything, and I know a lot of kids here don't go and use their libraries and stuff, but they have a whole big of like research papers and stuff like that and everything, and I'm just thinking in my head, well, that's cool, you could have just went to the library and it was right there. So yeah,
I have to tell a story about someone who mentored me when I was just starting off teaching, and this was when I was at Eckerd College. And this guy, he was a professor, and he just taught me so much about how to do discussion, how to edit videos and things like that. If you take my classes, I use a lot of those, and that's been a big help. But he told me the story, because you were talking about, is how much of a disconnect between professors and students. When he was in college, he didn't do well. And then he and his friends made a bet that whoever skipped class first one semester had to buy beer that weekend for the other guys. And he said, I'm not going to lose this bet. And so he went to class, and he was a smart guy. And he's like, oh, wait, when I go to class, I do better. And so, it sounds like such an odd thing, but that has to click on. And after that, he did really, really well. And the guy just became a phenomenal scholar, wonderful person. But it's just funny was that what got, he was totally just, was going out drinking and partying. And then he kind of realized that, okay, I can still do that, but I have to go to class too. So that's just what that made me think of. So Cameron, before we move on, do you have any habits that you would encourage cultivation?
Yeah, I do. I would say build relationships. That goes for, you were saying, like connection, the distance between professors and students. Definitely, we're all people. Just reach out, email, talk, and even in classes, it can be easy, even if we're a small university, it can be easy to like get drowned out, or like feel it's your first year, you're away from home, kind of feel like shy and everything, but talk to your like people you sit with. Even if you're not that big social, your social game's not that big, it's just good to just talk to people, because you can have those people you can reach out to and, hey, I have a question, or hey, you just want to go get Starbucks, and once you feel more involved in that kind of way, even something that little, you feel more like I can handle everything going on.
Excellent. Well, there's another topic I wanted to hit on, but before we go there, does anyone have anything else they want to add? Or
I was just gonna say, especially your upperclassmen, because like especially with my suite mates, because I live over there in Brookside right now, because I'm on a choral grant and everything. But I get a lot of freshmen. So they're like my little babies. So I like go over there and talk to them, and I know sometimes they're like, "Why is she such like an annoying like big sister and stuff?" But that's my intention because like
Right.
I've been through what you've been through, so I give them tips of like, "Oh, well, you probably want to go over there to like OUPB earlier or like Starbucks earlier because their lines get packed and stuff." And I try to give them those tidbits, and then they come back and they're like, "You know what? You were right." And I'm like, "Yes, I know, right? Because I've been dealing with this for 4 years now." Like, so it's just
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be all up in your business or whatever like that and everything. But no, really just go and ask your upperclassmen. Like, see if you have like someone that's a junior, sophomore, junior, senior in like your classes and everything. Talk to them and be like, "Hey, have you taken this class before?" Or ask about classes you have to take in the future,
Right.
especially because that helps so much. And then you get to figure out what your professors are like, the courses are like, and so forth. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, very good, very good. All right, so the other thing that I want to talk about, so for our audience, one reason there's many students who are really great. These 3 students are also really great, but there's another reason why I asked them to come was they also all serve as tutors, right? So in addition to doing very well in school, they're doing so well, they're helping other people hopefully to succeed. So I also wanted to ask them, what do you think how do you prepare for tutoring and to make tutoring effective, and then what do you do after tutoring to make tutoring effective? So we'll go in reverse, I think, this time. We'll start with Cameron. How would how should students prepare for tutoring? What makes it, and then how do they make a tutoring session productive afterwards?
So, fun fact, I have not had a tutoree yet. This is my first semester tutoring.
Right, yeah.
But from my experience, I've noticed, just on the side, there's history people coming to be tutored are fewer than other subjects.
Right.
In my experience talking to other history tutors in the past. Beforehand, when you go tutoring, I'll definitely have all your materials.
Right.
I know Roush provides us with his the class on the blackboard.
Right. I'm in the room.
Yeah.
You said Roush. I'm in the room. Prefix.
Oh.
Dr. Roush.
Dr. Roush.
Sorry.
Dr. Roush. Right. And,
no, I'm a Koreanist, so I'm strict with titles.
Titles, yes. Dr. Roush. Just definitely have your materials ready beforehand, and afterwards, after we get done with the tutoring, go back over review and just normal studying. That's what I would say, but I'm sure they have more experience, the others in the room. But
Well, that's a good tip for
Those
students.
are-
Go to tutoring. Don't wait.
yeah.
Oh,
Yes. Oh, well, no, Gemma. We're
Oh,
we're reverse age order this time.
Okay, so I would say if someone's coming in to get tutored, 2 things. 1, come with questions. If you don't have questions, come with a topic. Because when I have people come in and they'll put out their notes, get the slides up, especially if they have Dr. Rush, and they're like, "I just don't know anything. I'm lost." So, I mean, and I'm sure Ashley and all the other tutors, we can handle that because we could start from the beginning and work through it. But it's more difficult and it's more time consuming. And I would rather focus on the areas where they're having trouble on rather than just the big picture, unless they just want a simple review. So questions I feel really helpful because it helps me and the person manage the time and focus on what needs to be focused rather than doing the whole thing. Now, if they just want to review, like, that's fine. But especially if they're struggling, then I feel a part of them doing to improve, they need to know what they're struggling with, and they need to be able to tell us like they have questions, or even if they're just struggling on certain topics, or like with people, or with like it's geography related, like stuff like that. So
Excellent, right? That's my hope. They take the study guide, and I tell them, before you see the tutor, just go through the study guide and circle questions you don't get, so that way you're not going over stuff you understand. You're going over stuff you don't understand.
yes.
Excellent, Ashley. What would you?
I
add to that?
definitely will agree with that because you got to think in a sense like you're coming in there for a limited time, space, and everything, and we're trying to help you like the best way you can and everything. So there has to be some way like a meeting in the middle there in the sense of where you're cutting half of our battle short by already coming there prepared with questions, your notes, everything like that, that the stuff that you really need help with, versus in the sense of like, kind of coming in prepared and we're sitting here and giving you a whole base of the lecture all over again, and then you're like, wait, well, I didn't understand this and that, and you're asking me like the last like 5 seconds, and I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, because I have another tutoring appointment and everything. So yeah, definitely just come there with your notes. I especially emphasize that because I had some tutorees in the past that would just show up without their notes, and they would just expect me just to explain everything, and I really highly encourage that, because like I can see how you're a note taker. I get to see how you learn in class and everything, because I actually go and look at your notes first and everything, and I'm like, okay, I see what they might have missed, because that's the type of note taker they are, or what they did get right. So just come with your notes, come with questions and everything. Don't be afraid. So tell me like what your learning style is too and everything, because everybody learns in different ways and everything. And then what I do after I study or work like that and everything, I ask them like what I could have did better, like what questions they might still might have, or something that they might have missed in the lecture. And if I don't know it, then I'll tell them, oh, I don't know it, but I will get to Dr. Roush or some other professor and everything to see if I can get back with them. So that helps me.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, and I think that's one thing that makes college different from high school, is we just expect more of the students in terms of being active learners. Mm-hmm. And I think that can be difficult, because everything I think in high school seems to be very structured, and it's kind of like, this is when you're supposed to be in this class, this is your study hall, this is this, that. Mm-hmm. And here it's much more open, because that's what the working world is like, where you have to be the one that's taking initiative. Yeah. And so that's the problem when if you show up without anything, you're just kind of expecting that, and that's just not how the working world works, and we're trying to get you ready for that. So then my last question would be then, what should the students do after tutoring to make tutoring effective? So they've just left. What should they do?
Go back and add to your notes, like in the sense of what, because I try to write a lot of like additional notes that they might have like missed inside their their handouts and their PowerPoints and stuff. So go back and make sure you added that to your notes and everything, and then read over them again real quick while you're like eating or something like that, and everything, because then it stays in your memory and refreshed.
Right. Yeah, repetition. Gemma, Cameron, anything you would?
I would say pretty much the same thing. I tell some of the students who come in to see me that, when they leave and they're looking over their stuff, if they see something that they forgot to mention to me, or they have a question and they can't make it to a tutoring appointment, I always let them have the option to just email me.
Okay, excellent.
So if like, that night they're looking over something and they can't come for an appointment for whatever reason, so just email me the questions and I'll try my best to help you out. So, but yeah.
I think those are all great. I couldn't say it better myself. Y'all have the experience. I would definitely say, just keep going to tutoring. Even afterwards.
Oh, that's another point. Okay, go to it consistently.
Right.
I have a lot of kids that I know that try to just wait until it gets to like a big test or finals week especially, and then they try to come like 2 weeks before finals week and cram everything they learned the whole entire semester within like 2 weeks and stuff. And sorry, that's just impossible for anybody. It doesn't matter what major you're doing, everything to teach you that properly, in a sense, what you needed to know for a whole semester. So honestly, I'm not saying take up majority of your time and everything, but honestly, if you go at least once a week to tutoring, like every week and everything, I promise you will start seeing a progress and a lot better results with your grade and everything.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of perfect, because that's kind of my concern, is that sometimes I think people have a kind of magical way of thinking. It's like, okay, I went to tutoring, so now my grade will go up. It's like, well, no. You have to still, if the tutoring didn't help you learn the information because you weren't prepared or because you didn't review it, then it's not going to help you. Mm-hmm. And so it's not simply what we sometimes call, it's not just checking the boxes. Okay, went to tutoring, did that. It's like, well, was it a productive tutoring session? Did you come prepared? Did you review afterwards? Did you come again? Right? You keep going. Oh my gosh, I've had students, I think sometimes with you, Ashley, I don't know, maybe Gemma's had this too, that would log like 15 or 20 hours. Like, it was astounding, and it saved them, right? Because they were taking a class, like this was often upper level history that they were taking, and just, they had to take it for some distribution requirement. They were not history majors, and they were struggling. And then thanks to them being diligent and you working with them, they passed with a respectable grade. Have you run into that, Gemma? Do you have anyone that's come in for like a whole bunch of hours, or is this...
I used to have Ani.
Yes, of course, Ani. Yeah,
pretty almost every week, if not twice a week, and It was great. I liked it because you're able to like build relationships with
Right.
the people, and you understand them better, so you're able to help them better.
Yeah.
Well, so that goes to also to that. Several people have mentioned relationships, and that's something, you know. It's like, I don't want to let this person down. I don't want to let my classmates down. I don't want to let my tutors down. In my friend's case, I don't want to let my drinking buddies down. Rather, I do want to let them down. I want to beat them, and that's something I know my wife talked about. She her mother passed away just before she went to college, and it was really hard. And what kept her going to class was her father. Well, she said, I can't let my father down. He has sacrificed so much for me to go through. He just lost his wife. So I'm depressed. I don't feel well, but I'm going to go to class anyway because of that relationship with my father. And so I think that's, you know, we're human beings. We're pack animals. You know, we need each other. So that's something that hopefully will carry us through. So we've gotten to the point. I usually like to cut it about this point, but I want to give you all any opportunity for. Are you familiar with the Jerry Springer show? Did you ever watch that? So he always had his. It always ended with Jerry's final thoughts.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Jerry Springer show. We're too classy, I guess. But I won't want to end with my final thoughts. I want to end with your final thoughts. Any final thoughts?
I would just say that college is an experience. It's gonna be good, bad, ugly, pretty, everything, and you just need to accept all of that. Even though it's going to be rough and you're not going to want to accept it, you're here for a reason, and like just enjoy the journey. It's going to be difficult, but whatever is going to be the outcome, like this is going to build you as your person, who you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Excellent. Well said.
I would say, I don't know if there's ever a day that you'll just wake up in college and you'll say, oh, I got it. I got the rest of my college career, I got it done. And I know what to do. It's always, it's a learning process. It is. Just keep working hard and you'll be okay. It's cliche, but you'll be fine.
I have to say, I've been in college now for over 20 years and more than half my life, and I still feel like I'm learning something. I never feel like I wake up and I say I've got it. I never do that. So,
right.
So I think well said there.
Yeah, it's like your quote you keep saying in 499, perfect's the enemy of good. Is that?
That's right. Yeah. Perfect
paraphrasing
is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Yeah. Don't try to reach perfection during because you're getting your bachelor's, and some of y'all will be going on for even higher education than that, so you still have so much to learn and everything. So it's definitely a self-discovery process, not just academically, but just with yourself in general too. But like Gemma was saying earlier, like make sure you take care of yourself, like your like internal health, make sure you're sleeping well, make sure you're eating right and everything because that really does correlate with how well you do academically and everything. So
excellent.
yeah.
Well, thank you both for your attention, and thank you, audience, for your attention.